You ever wonder if those ancient myths are really just stories? Or maybe, just maybe, some of them are hiding a blueprint for a technology we've only just rediscovered? Well, let's get into it, because today we are taking apart an ancient weapon that could literally shatter an army's courage before a single sword was ever drawn.
Wow. Okay, so that line comes from the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata. It's describing the sound from the Panchajanya, the legendary conch shell of Lord Krishna, blown right at the start of a massive battle. That that doesn't really sound like a simple trumpet call to arms, does it? It sounds like a weapon of incredible power. And that right there is our big question. Was this just some poetic flair to describe a really loud noise? Or was the author describing the very real, very physical effects of a sophisticated sonic weapon? We're going to follow the science and find out. All right, so first things first. What did the ancient text actually say happened when this thing was blown? The effects listed are incredibly specific. It's not just, oh, the soldiers got scared. No, it says the war elephants freaked out and ran. It says the ground itself felt like it was trembling. And, most importantly, it shattered the courage of the enemy. Now that points to something way beyond just a loud sound. It sounds a lot more like a direct physiological and psychological attack. So, to even begin to understand how that could be possible, we have to look at the conch shell itself, not as some magical artifact, but as a piece of acoustic technology. Let's dig into how nature's design can be an incredibly powerful tool. The key scientific idea here is something called a Helmholtz resonator, and I guarantee you've played with this yourself. Ever blown across the top of a bottle and heard that deep humming sound? That's it. The shape of the bottle is amplifying sound waves at a very specific resonant frequency. But see, a conch shell isn't just any old container. Its shape, that perfect logarithmic spiral you see all over in nature, makes it unbelievably efficient. Unlike a simple tube which just scatters sound everywhere, the conch focuses those sound waves. It amplifies the power from a person's lungs not just a little, but exponentially. What you get is a highly directional, super powerful sonic boom. Powerful enough, maybe, to create effects that go way beyond what we can actually hear. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The true secret of this weapon might not have been the sound you could hear, but the one you couldn't. We're talking about infrasound. These are sound waves that are so low, the frequency is so deep, that our ears just can't pick them up. But here's the thing. Just because you can't hear it doesn't mean your body can't feel it. So if you look at this chart, you can see the whole range of human hearing, right? From about 20 hertz up to 20,000. But look way down here, in this realm below our senses. That's infrasound. It is, for all intents and purposes, a silent force. And what's really wild is that modern bioacoustic research has actually zeroed in on one particular frequency in this silent zone that has a massive biological effect on us. That frequency is 7 hertz. Okay, so here is the absolute crucial link. When a human body gets hit with a high-power sound at 7 hertz, something pretty intense happens. It resonates with our internal organs, and the effects are immediate. We're talking a deep sense of dread, extreme nausea, even visual hallucinations because your eyeballs are literally vibrating. It triggers an involuntary panic response in your body. Now think back to that description from the Mahabharata, the shattering of hearts. I mean, come on, that is an almost perfect textbook description of the medical symptoms of infrasound exposure. And if you're thinking, okay, that's a cool theory, well, think again. This exact principle is being used right now on modern battlefields and for crowd control. They're called long-range acoustic devices, or LRADs for short, and these are non-lethal weapons that shoot a highly focused beam of sound to disorient and disable people from a safe distance. The goal is exactly the same: win the fight without ever firing a shot. Let's just put them side by side. The mechanism is different, sure. One is natural resonance, the other is fancy electronics. The power source is different, human lungs versus a battery. But look at the primary goal. The ancient weapon was meant to induce a deep biological fear. The modern one is meant to disorient and deter. It is the exact same playbook, just separated by a few thousand years of technology. So what's the big takeaway here? When we put all these pieces together, the myth, the physics, the modern tech, the conclusion is pretty startling. That blast from Krishna's conch, it almost certainly wasn't just a signal to start the battle. It was the battle. It was a sophisticated, preemptive first strike aimed at biologically and psychologically breaking the enemy army before they even had a chance to lift their weapons.
It was pure physics, turning a natural object into an absolutely terrifying weapon.
And that kind of leads us to one last big question. If the magic of a mythological conch shell can be broken down into the hard physics of acoustic warfare, well, what other ancient legends, what other stories of gods and magic are really just descriptions of advanced science that we've simply forgotten?